Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Kent. Today I'm going to explain to you our change management overview. My organization has decided to invest in a change department due to a couple strategic initiatives with significant investment. Before we get started, I'd like for you to consider a couple thoughts. Consider a change that you viewed as being successful. Think about what made it successful. On the opposite side, I'd like for you to now consider a change that you viewed as unsuccessful, and why do you think that it was unsuccessful? Oftentimes, it's not the project or the initiative, but how it was implemented. So think about what percentage of that success depended on the people changing. Our purpose for today is I'm going to walk through a kind of a definition of what change management is. I'm also going to explain the value that a change strategy can bring to an organization. So let's get started. So what is change management? Change management is the application of a structured process and set of tools for managing the people side of change. So basically what I'm saying is it's the science behind the change. It's not just a communication or a training. Plus, it's not just managing resistance. Effective change management prepares and equips and supports individuals through the change journeys as they experience as part of the organization so that the results are achieved. And it really captures that people-dependent return on investment and mobilizes people to really deliver those results. So what is the framework that we're going to be working through? The change management framework really has three particular stages. You're going to go through an analysis and preparation stage where we define the strategy. We're starting to prepare the change management team. We're really developing that sponsorship model. We're also going to be working through a change management plan. What are the deliverables that the change management team specifically needs to deliver on? So that's a communication plan, a sponsor roadmap, a coaching plan, resistance management plan, and a training plan. Along with that, we're going to bring we need individual outcomes. So we're going to talk about the ADKAR model: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. And ultimately, we want to achieve business results. We want those desired outcomes, and part of this is this triangle that you see, where we talk about what's the role of change management, what's the role of project management, what's the role of the leadership and sponsorship, because ultimately the three things in the middle we want to achieve are meeting those project objectives, we want to finish the project on time and under budget, and we obviously want return on investment. So as I've talked about what the framework is, and we really think through that what we call the PCT change triangle. So it's the project change triangle. All three of these parts of these triangle are vital, and each leg of the stool contributes or hinders the likelihood of these achieved results. So effective change management really increases the likelihood of success in three areas. One, the speed of adoption. How quickly is the change adopted into the organization? How well is that project stays on schedule? The utilization rate. What is the overall level of participation and ultimate utilization of the new processes, whether it's the tools or the job changes? And then proficiency. How do the employees perform in the new environment? Are they achieving the expected performance levels? All these three things are often take part and in place to achieve these three particular objectives. So this is often where we start our assessment, is identifying risks and track the health of the project. Vince Lombardi, I think you know him, a famous quote that I really like here, that the achievements of an organization are the results of the combined effort of each particular individuals. The key learning takeaway is that organizations don't change, people change. An organization needs to move from a current state through a transition state to a future state. Ultimately, each organizational impacts how each of these change impacts how the specific employees do their job. So in this particular picture, the true unit of change is an individual. Oftentimes in times of change, we can lose people during the transition and even more into the future state. So we start off in the current state on the far left, we move some of the individuals through to that transition state, and then sometimes if we don't move each individual through their individual ADKAR journey, we'll lose them in the future state. And ultimately, if we don't effectively do that, we see lower return on investment, we see less benefit realization. Ultimately, we didn't have our outcomes that we wanted to achieve. We didn't get what we expected. We didn't deliver on what they expected. And ultimately, we could have some turnover of valuable employees. So again, organizations don't change, individuals do. And now we want to consider what are the building blocks for creating that individual change so that we do not lose those individuals from that current state through the transition state to the future state. So the 5 building blocks for building a successful change are, first starts with awareness. What is the nature of the change? Why is the change needed? What's the risk of not changing? And that kind of leads into building into a desire for change. What's in it for me is the big question. It's a personal choice in this particular phase. It's a decision to engage and participate. Ultimately, that goes, once we have all kind of awareness for change, the desire for change, we want to start building the knowledge for change. We want to understand how to change. We want to train on new processes and tools. This is really where we're learning those new particular skills. And this leads us into the ability to change. So that it's this demonstrated capability to implement the change, the achievement of the desired change in a performance or a behavior. So that's really this demonstrated ability to not only know what the change and the desired change, but you can show how to do implement the change. This is ultimately where we want to get both our projects teams to, in conjunction with the change team. We want to get our people to this so that we can execute on those, execute on the deliverables that the leadership is expecting. The last step of the journey is reinforcement. So these actions that increase the likelihood that change will be continued. We want to recognize and reward, and we want to sustain the change. So we define success for one person or organizational-wide changes. So whether it's changes with one person, 5 people, or 20 people, ultimately, or 1,000 people. That's how we define success. I spoke earlier about where is it that we need to get individuals to in the model, this ProSci ADKAR model that we're talking about. So we talked about awareness, we talked about desire, and then we talked about knowledge. And ultimately, we need to get people to ability to meet those project objectives, finish the project on time and on budget, to capitalize on the return on investment. Ultimately, we do have some missteps in the process. Without awareness and desire, you'll see employees asking the same questions over and over. Without knowledge, you'll see lower utilization. And without reinforcement, employees probably are going to revert back to their old ways of doing things. So what is the goal of change management? The goal of change management really is to prepare and equip and supporting individuals through the journey as they experience that within your organization. And each individual person is going to experience that in different ways and in different stages. Successful change really requires both, not only both the technical side and the people side. The technical side is often what we describe as project management. It's really moving, from that initiation, planning, the execution, monitoring, controlling. It's really that technical side. Change management really focuses on the people moving. So it's people moving from a current state to a future state. So it's that individual change model. How are they ready? We want to manage that change, and we want to reinforce that change. We want to take each one of those individuals through that ADKAR journey. The structured change management process, as we look to implement this within our organization, our inputs are going to be our new ERP system, our strategic initiative through performance management. We have a new benefits program. We're going to have some merger and acquisition work, new productivity improvement, or those process change. Each one of those is going to go through our structured change management process of preparing for that change, defining that strategy, managing that change, and then ultimately reinforcing that change. And our outputs for our organization are going to be a customized strategy for each one of these inputs. We want to have concrete action steps that drive adoption and utilization. Ultimately, we're going to have achievement of the expected results and outcomes, and we're going to see realized benefits to our organization as a result of that. I want to walk next into the rules in change management, because each change strategy has senior leaders, change practitioners, project teams, people managers, and you can see that senior leaders are really active and visible participant throughout the project. They really sponsor that change. That's really their goal. The change practitioners, such as myself, we're going to apply a structured process to this. The project teams, we need to partner with them to really design and deliver on the adoption and usage. And then we need the people managers to really effectively support the direct reports in the change. They are key to helping the frontline employees that embrace, adopt, and use the change themselves. So for our particular organization, we're going to have a core change team. We're going to have a change lead that manages all three phases of the process of preparing for and reinforcing the change. We're going to define that strategy. The role typically has a real close relationship with the project leader, and we really work in tandem. We're also going to have a communication and marketing lead. So this person is going to develop and execute a strategic communication and marketing plan and kind of lead the project communication and marketing team. We're also going to have a training lead. This person is going to execute on a training plan and lead the project team as we kind of help implement the ultimate change strategy. Again, I want to say thank you for your time and attention today. When we think about recap on what the goals are of a change strategy, we've talked about a definition of change management, that it's a structured approach to the people side of change, and that our goal really is to prepare, equip, and support individuals through that change journey. We also learned that organizations change through individual change, and we also talked about how it's intentional and it's a measurable process that we can see with specific results. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.